Hi, welcome to Funded. I'm Katelyn Finney, and this is a Clearinghouse CDFI podcast, here to give you a glimpse into the community development work Clearinghouse CDFI is doing around the country. Listeners can expect to tune into conversations discussing what a CDFI is, how getting funded by a CDFI works, community impact stories, and how we are all working towards building better communities together. Hello, and welcome back to Funded by Clearinghouse CDFI. I'm your host, Katelyn Finney. Today, we're joined by our resident New Mexico expert. This is Lawrence Chavez. Lawrence, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Katelyn.
Lawrence, for our audience, could you give a brief professional or personal background to give us a little bit about who you are?
Yes, my name's Lawrence. I'm in Albuquerque, located in Albuquerque. My background is I started out several years ago in residential lending, moved on to mortgage revenue bonds, and I'm currently starting next month will be my 6th year with Clearinghouse. Yeah, 6 years. Can you believe that? What I do personally is I like to hike New Mexico. I started hiking during COVID. A friend of mine and I are going to hike Wheeler Peak, the highest peak in New Mexico, at the end of the month. So on weekends, you'll see me hiking the Sandias. We hike the Faulty Trail, La Luz Trail, the VADO Trail, but that's what you'll see me doing on weekends.
Very cool. And New Mexico has some beautiful views, so I'm sure you get a great perspective at the top of some of those hikes, and you get to look over all of New Mexico. That's pretty cool.
Beautiful, beautiful mountains. Beautiful mountains.
Clearinghouse is a California-based company, but you are in New Mexico. What made you move out to New Mexico and start living and working out there?
Katelyn, I'm actually a native New Mexican. I was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And what's exciting about it is New Mexico is the land of enchantment, and there's just a lot of stuff to like about New Mexico. The culture comes to mind. The food in New Mexico is awesome, and what I enjoy the most personally is the natural landscape beauty of New Mexico. Up in northern New Mexico it's stunning landscape and national parks in southern New Mexico.
The community, you said, is also a big reason that you love being in New Mexico. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Caitlin, what I like about the community in New Mexico is everything is relationship driven. Everything is face to face, almost old school, where when you're talking about a project in New Mexico, it's almost customary to sit down and talk to someone face to face over coffee or in person, and that's kind of unique to New Mexico, and that's one of the things I like about it. It's just relationship driven.
That's a great point. In California, everything is remote, over email, over Zoom, and it's refreshing that in New Mexico you get to sit down and talk to somebody and meet the person that you're doing business with.
It's very old school, Caitlin. It's very old school, and there's certain local places where you go have a cup of coffee and talk about a project, and it's refreshing. I like that. I'm old school, and it's kind of neat to see.
What is one lesson that living and working in New Mexico has taught you, maybe personally or professionally, up to you?
Caitlin, the one lesson that I have can be applied professionally and personally, but it's to follow your passion in real estate, and it works in your professional life. But as a lender, we can tell when there's passion in a project and when there's impact in a project. And when the project does good for a community, that passion comes out, and the whole process with Clearinghouse just goes smoother. And that's in your personal life too. When you follow your passion, you become your best self.
It's hard to go wrong when you're following your heart's purpose. I like it. That's great advice. Lawrence, first question, I want to kind of set the scene of what's happening in New Mexico today. What kinds of projects, what kind of opportunity do you see Clearinghouse having in New Mexico? Where can we help? where can we be of assistance?
Perfect timing on that, Katelyn. Yesterday, I attended John Brooks from the New Mexico Finance Authority led an alternative capital and economic development roundtable. During the conference, they polled participants and asked what's the top issues facing New Mexico for economic development. And the top two answers were affordable housing and K through 12 education. What's important about that is Clearinghouse CDFI, we're a part of the solution on that. Clearinghouse, we have a capital magnet award that we finance affordable housing projects, multifamily units in New Mexico, and also on the education component, we've financed several charter schools in New Mexico. We've done ground up construction for Tierra Adentro. That school is just east of the sawmill, part of the sawmill district. And currently under construction in Gallup, New Mexico, is Middle College High School. Is getting a new building, and it makes sense. I mean, if students have a better learning environment, the academic performance is going to be better. So I'm glad to say that we're part of the solution. We have products that can help with what New Mexico leaders were saying we need.
You know, given the opportunity that you're seeing in New Mexico, one of the other stories that I want to highlight is about El VADO. While it's not necessarily affordable housing or, you know, a school development, I think it does a really good job of highlighting the opportunity that we can like find in New Mexico. So it's one of my favorite projects. Can you tell us about El VADO? What kind of project was that?
Well, El Vado's, I got to start with an interesting story about El Vado. Um, those of you in Albuquerque know the whole story about it, where it was a rundown facility that was just a bad situation, and there was the city kept trying to revitalize it, and it went on for years and years before it was actually revitalized. And for those of you that don't know, El Vado was an old Route 66 hotel. The funny story about it is El Vado is how I found Clearinghouse. When it finally got revitalized and they were doing construction on it, the sign was out there on the construction site that said financing provided by Clearinghouse. And it intrigued me where I started doing research and I was reaching out to Clearinghouse because I wanted to be a part of something like that. Anybody that can finance a project like El Vado, I wanted to be a part of it. So funny story. I mean, El Vado is how I found Clearinghouse. But El Vado kind of sums up what Clearinghouse is all about. It was a hard to finance project just because it was so unique. It's a mixed use project that has hotel, it has small food vendors, and there's also a multifamily component of it. But it's a unique project where banks didn't have the appetite for, and it was perfect for Clearinghouse. And it kind of defines when I tell people locally that we finance that, it kind of defines what Clearinghouse is about, just because that project was so unique.
Yeah, that project, I had seen pictures of it, before and afters, and it was in a state, beforehand. But thankfully, like we were able to rehab it and get it to a place where not only like the after pictures that I saw really pay a tribute to the history behind the property, and it pays homage to the life that it had before, when Route 66 was in its heyday. So I thought that was really cool.
We can put the link on to the video of El Vado or get it from our website. But I encourage everybody to watch that. Just the detail that the developer went in to preserve the project. I mean, I encourage everybody to watch that. And most Albuquerqueans will know the history of it. So it's just an awesome project.
Yeah, we'll have the link to the mini documentary on our blog post. It's a whole blog post about New Mexico. I encourage you guys to go check it out if you're looking for more information on those kinds of projects and the rest of the projects that we talk about today. With that, I want to kind of pivot a little bit. affordable housing and community development projects are growing in demand, and it's important that the funding be tailored to each borrower specifically to help push these projects through. Given Clearinghouse's unique lending approach, what are some of the ways that we can be out of the box and push through some of these loans and tailor, to the unique needs of our borrowers?
Clearinghouse is an outside the box lender. We don't check any boxes to make sure they're eligible, and every project is stands on its own. So some of the unique projects that's different that Clearinghouse is funded in New Mexico. Uh, the affordable housing project in Las Cruces, New Mexico, comes to mind. The MV Desert Hope. It was in collaboration uh, with the Mesilla Valley Housing Authority, and there were so many state leaders and local leaders that pushed that project to get it off the ground. But I'm proud to say that Clearinghouse provided the construction financing on that. Other unique things we've done in New Mexico, I've already mentioned, is the charter schools. We've done several charter schools in Santa Fe and Albuquerque and Gallup. We've also done some nonprofit lending. As you know, it's hard for nonprofits to get bank loans, and we've done our fair share of nonprofit loans. Um, and then projects like El VADO. I mean, El VADO, we did a project right next to it that's another motel. And there's a similar property to El VADO going up in East Downtown Albuquerque. Um, that's same type of concept where it's going to be multifamily and hotel and a community area. I'm hopeful that it transitions the neighborhood the way that Alvaro did, and it just brings some new life to East Downtown.
One of the cool things about Elvado as well is that it really did breathe like a new life into that area. New retail and community there before it was severely run down, as we said. So it's cool to see a property like that, come into its own and have a new life. One of the other exciting projects I wanted to ask you about, Lawrence, I know you didn't work on it directly, but you have a little bit of information about it, is Pueblo of Laguna. And that was a community of 6 rural Native American villages in Mexico who were in desperate need of some infrastructure. Can you explain a little bit about that project?
The Pueblo of Laguna, that was led by Jay Harrison. He heads up our new markets tax credit team. And what it was is it was a $14 million new market tax credit wastewater infrastructure program. And what I think is most important is it shows that Clearinghouse CDFI is committed to serving Native American communities. It was a new market tax credit deal, and something I want to share with the audience is that last award, we allocated 30% of the new market tax credits to Native American or tribal projects, and it just shows the commitment that we have towards native lending and native projects.
And what does it mean to you specifically to be able to help communities like that? I mean, for me, I think it's really heartwarming to see, a community that was in desperate need of something that a lot of other communities are so, they already have it readily available. And these people did not. So to you, like, does that pull out your heartstrings a little bit?
It does. And what's most important to me is that Clearinghouse is investing in New Mexico, whether it's tribal or the other products that we do. But there's so many tribes in New Mexico, and that we allocate 30% of our new market tax credits to them. It's just a huge opportunity for them. And I know personally, Laguna is just west of Albuquerque. And I know they would try to do this for a while, and it's awesome that Clearinghouse can be a part of it.
All right, Lawrence, we are wrapping up here at the end of our episode. What are some of the key takeaways that you would like to leave our audience with?
Number one that I want to leave everybody with is that Clearinghouse can be a part of the solution in New Mexico. As we briefly talked about earlier, one of the top issues is affordable housing, and I want to be crystal clear with everybody that Clearinghouse is committed to affordable housing through our capital magnet fund programs. We're committed to affordable housing, and it's nice that we can be a part of the solution in New Mexico. And that's been identified by local leaders and community members that affordable housing is an issue in New Mexico. Clearinghouse is 100% behind affordable housing.
I want to know, what are some of the specific products that we can offer to help address some of the affordable housing issues? Are those like mixed use properties? Are those mobile home parks? What does that look like?
Some of our products, Katelyn, that we do in affordable housing is multifamily, affordable housing construction and permanent financing. We also do mobile home parks, which is important in some of the rural areas of New Mexico. And in addition to the affordable housing products that we have, Katelyn, we also do mixed use, as we talked about earlier with VADO and the Imperial Inn and projects like that. So the one thing I want to say is Clearinghouse can be a part of the solutions in New Mexico. And it's exciting as the word gets out about Clearinghouse that we're going to continue to grow and be a part and partner with unique products and multifamily and charter school products in New Mexico.
Yeah. And in Clearinghouse's 25-year history, a little bit over 25 years now, we've been able to create a lot of great impact, around the country, but in New Mexico specifically. I wanted to rattle off some of our impacts for you and see which ones you think are the best and, make the biggest difference in the communities that we're developing. So it's just some of them. So we have a total $70 million in lending deployed in New Mexico, which getting that to maybe 100 million is our next goal. 20% of our lending supports Native communities in New Mexico. We've also created over 1,700 jobs and also fostering growth in 29 separate communities. So a wide variety. Those are some of the higher, highlight impacts. Which one of those is your favorite, Lawrence?
Of Katelyn, 70 million is amazing in New Mexico. 20% of it going to Native communities, the jobs, all of it's important. But Katelyn, what I want to share that's not on your list is that Clearinghouse CDFI walks the talk. Is that how you say it? Walks the talk. They committed to investing in New Mexico, and they backed it up by hiring someone local in New Mexico, boots on the ground in New Mexico. All New Mexicans know that it helps to have somebody here that understands our community and understands our culture, and it speaks volumes for me, and it's something that I'm proud of Clearinghouse, that they invested in New Mexico. They didn't just have somebody from Arizona or Dallas serve New Mexico. They invested and hired me on the ground. I'm here in Albuquerque, so that on top of your list, that's the other thing that I'm most proud of is walk the talk. They hired somebody local in New Mexico.
Yeah, and having you boots on the ground, you get, the full-on experience of how we can actually be helping people. You're talking to the community, you're out there going to local events, doing all of the important work that it takes to get these projects done. So thank you for doing that.
We do business different in New Mexico. We'll meet for a cup of coffee and talk about a deal, and that's important. That's important to me, and I know that's important to our community. So I'm just grateful that Clearinghouse recognizes that.
It is important. Well, we're going to keep pushing forward our efforts in New Mexico. Lawrence is going to lead the charge in that area. We're going to be here to support him. But if any of our listeners have any New Mexico specific questions, we're going to leave Lawrence's contact information in our episode description, along with any other links to some of the projects that we talked about today, and how you can get in contact with us if you have a loan question to talk about your specific scenario. So, Lawrence, thank you again for being on this episode of Funded. It was great to chat with you about all things New Mexico. We will see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Katelyn.